Hi, this is Jeff Evans with Low Country Weekly, and we're here at the 12th Beaufort International Film Festival, and I'm talking to Teresa Bruce, who is the producer of the short documentary Just Wrong. And this is Teresa's return to BIFF after having been here for a number of years. And the film is about wrongful convictions, and it wasn't a passion project for you. You basically had the National Institute of Justice come to you about making this documentary.
Right. It was in the Obama administration, they decided to look at the issue of wrongful convictions. And in the Department of Justice, there's a scientific arm called the National Institute of Justice. And they study what scientifically can be proven works to fix the justice system. It's a really interesting component. And so this is an issue that's growing, and DNA evidence is only available in 10% of death penalty cases. So that means that the big high-profile cases where people are freed because of DNA get a lot of attention, but the vast majority, there isn't that kind of evidence, so proving your innocence is really, really exponentially harder.
Mm-hmm. I said that most people sort of do documentary projects because it's a subject they're passionate about and they believe in. That didn't necessarily start in this case. So can you talk about how you feel about this subject of wrongful convictions before you made the film and after you made the film?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I was like every other person. I didn't give it much thought. Never thought it would be in my world or that I would know anyone. And so in a way, not having that be an issue that I cared about allowed me to be pretty objective when we started the filming. But boy, it changes. You realize these were normal, everyday people that could be your neighbors, your cousins, and something happened, and it's not just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just that there are breakdowns in the system that sweep people up. And if you're not sophisticated, if you don't have resources and a legal background, you could literally spend 30 years on death row for something you didn't do. So now I am much more passionate about it, and I feel like there are steps that could be taken. The problem is really immense. It goes to problems with eyewitness identification being unreliable. It goes to justice systems that are built on elections. So people that need to get reelected tend to want quick conviction rates, and that leads to problems. There's so many issues that are really hard to fix. But there are also what we discovered in this, and that I guess I'm most passionate about, there are ways we can fix parts of it. You know, like for example, if you are wrongfully convicted and you've been 30 years on death row, and the state acknowledges that they wrongfully convicted you and exonerate you and let you out, you get no Social Security. And so people are put on the street with nothing to live on.
And this is because you hadn't paid into it, because
right.
you had no job and you had no income.
But that was wrongful, and you would have. So they could make a law that would change that and just grant you the maximum Social Security, and then at least people would be able to start to rebuild their lives. So there's steps like that that actually can be taken, and I think there's movement within the criminal justice system to fix those things, because they recognize that they're on the ground level and they see what incredible impact a wrongful conviction has, not just on that person who went to jail, but the victim of the crime is re-traumatized every time there's a wrongful conviction.
So talk a little bit about how your filmmaking process, how long it took to shoot, how you found the subjects in the film. Finding the subjects wasn't as difficult because there had been this listening session that had been conducted in the Obama administration. So there were a lot of people on the record, and that was my starting point. Was studying those stories, reaching out, developing rapport, figuring out, who could we get that would tell the whole side, the all 360. And then from then, if they weren't willing to do it, they knew of another person who'd been wrongfully convicted, and we went that way and got help from the Innocence Project, and a lot of organizations chimed in and said, you might consider this person, or you might consider this case. So we did a lot of research on the front end of calling and talking and finding out what we could and piecing together whose stories might work together. And then really you sort of become almost friends with people, because you're asking them to go back and retell something that maybe happened 30 years ago, but that has torn their life up. So you don't just roll in and the camera's rolling and say, hey, tell me about that time that you missed your daughter's
I mean, I imagine
wedding.
trust issues
Right.
and everything you could imagine.
There are. So you really, I'm so grateful that these 5 people were willing to go through that for us. And they did it so that their stories can be shared and that reform and justice can happen. So that's what now I just want to share that story and let people make their own decisions once they see the variety of ways the system can fail and the variety of ways we can help make it get better.
So Just Wrong is, people can see it by how can they see it?
You can go onto the National Institute of Justice's website and type in Just Wrong, and you can pull it up and it plays on YouTube, and it's meant to be shared, so send it to people, pass it along, talk to your legislators if you feel like there's something that can be done. Only 30 states allow the exonerated people who spent time, lost their lives basically as wrongfully convicted people, to get compensation from the state. So that means there's almost 20 out there states that need those laws fixed so that someone can collect some compensation if they're wrongfully convicted. So there's lots of things you can do once you jump on.
Well, and the film is powerful when you listen to these people speak about this. So hopefully enough of you will go out there and to the National Institute of Justice site, see the film, and maybe we can get the other 20 states
On
to
board.
sort of do something about this. Thanks, Teresa. Welcome
you.
back to BIFF.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.